My guest for today is the CEO of AG Food Tech, owner of La Carne Premium Meat Shop, Jovy Tuaño. It's an honor to have you today. Anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mike, for inviting me here. So it's one of the, I should say, my first exclusive interview here in Cebu since we started doing business, and I do hope that you really become one of those job creators rather than just job seeker.
Okay. I hope you take something from this episode. Enjoy. Afternoon, Sir Jovy. Thank you so much for your time for this candid discussion we'll be having.
Oh,
So,
May
yes.
may hapon sa mo. Good
Yeah.
afternoon, Mike. Thanks for inviting me over.
Yeah. So I was just curious about your business journey and perhaps you can share some inputs. I know you set up La Carne here in Cebu at 88th Avenue. First off, how's the food industry in Cebu doing?
Well, when of course when you get into business, you study the market, no? After it was about 7 years when we were engaged in the food business in during my time in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and so during the we did well in Dubai and Abu Dhabi during the pandemic because we were selling a very essential product which has been like pandemic proof. So we thought it's about time to return to the Philippines and set up a branch of the business. So of course the choice is whether you do it in Manila, in a big city, or in a secondary city like Cebu. So I thought that Cebu has always been known as a test market for any product, not only food. So as they say, if you make it in Cebu, which is actually a difficult market because I should say it's dense, but the culture is it's like a melting pot of people from Manila and from different regions of the Philippines. So to satisfy that palate, it's really challenging, right? Yeah. So when we studied the market, it's really of course you look at the macro economics of Cebu, which is very promising and interesting because, as they say, it's the dynamics of business here is very unique because there's a lot of entrepreneurs, and no matter what happens in Manila, even if Manila or the country is in a crisis situation, Cebu is always very resilient, even with after the pandemic and you had the Odette. So it's really like it immediately recovers. The recovery period is very fast because the entrepreneurs, I think, are a lot of homegrown businesses are here, and I see in the food and beverage business there's really a lot of homegrown brands that I've seen. And I was even happy to see Snow Shin when I came here and when I came back on 2020. Snow Shin was still there since 1960s. Shamrock is still there. Ding Hao is still there. So, meaning, if you have a good product, people will really patronize. So, and then you have, of course, the influx of brands from Manila, and which is also encouraging, and even international brands and concepts have come into Cebu. So that's what's really what we have observed, that it's really very very interesting, and uh, the combination of the local consumers and foreigners, which can be classified as visiting, and some are really resident expats who are, some are because of business or family have decided to settle in Cebu. That's what really, that's my overall observation. And in terms of purchasing power, it's very well segmentized. From the, you have a market for, uh, you know, of course, the general segmentation is always like the A, B, and C market, or the high income, mid income, and the low income. But again, you can really, there's a lot of room to really uh, further segmentize it. Like if you go for the B market, for example, you have the B minus, the B plus, but you have the aspirational market, and I can see that there is already a rise of the, I mean, the low income before, because of smaller family size and more independence of the young generation, have become more, they have more disposable income now. So those who are, who belong to the low income group has moved up to the middle income group, and those who are into the middle income group has moved up to the higher income. So there's already a movement, a lot of young entrepreneurs, young professionals, and have become independent, and some choose to marry late. So the purchasing power
I
really
think
is,
there's
has
been a
increased.
shift also now regarding the marrying late.
Yeah,
Our generation now, it's like
they marry
more,
late and also have children late, or some don't
yeah,
even decide, just so for some reason they're just, there's this fear of or maybe because of financial security, they really think twice or three times before having
more focus on
child.
independence, no? Early on, like having things in place
Yeah. Yeah.
before settling down.
Yes.
Whereas in maybe my parents' generation, the baby boomers, they married quite early in their
Yes.
20s. I think generally speaking, if I think back to my friends, their parents, also similar that way.
And because of the um first, aside from the information through the omni channels, the social media, the information that people get, and the what do you call this, the hunger for traveling
Yeah.
and exploring different countries. So there is already a lot of exchange of culture. Some came back from the U.S., some have worked abroad. So the the expectation level has increased.
Okay, maybe we can delve first with your humble roots. What made you decide to venture into food, particularly premium steak, premium meat? Well, especially Cebu, medyo it's still a challenge because of course Wagyu, it's not cheap at all.
Yeah,
The Matsusakas, all these A5s.
yeah.
Uh, how did you think of that concept to really push for meat, premium meat, and here in Cebu?
Yeah, it dates back. I mean, my family, especially my mother, was the greatest influence, and um since my childhood days, she already had a meat business at home, as a home business in Hakosalem Street.
All meats also
Yes, he used to. She
pork.
used to bring in um, meat from Mindanao, okay, from her hometown in Iligan, and then my grandfather had some cattle, and of course they source from other farms as well. So they send it here, and
Not imported yet.
not imported. So I was still young then. So all she did is uh, take me to the market maybe twice or three times a week, like after school or especially on weekends. So I was one among the brothers and sisters of 9 who she would drag to Ramos o Carbon, you know. So, and I just really enjoyed go- going with her, and you know, it's not as pleasant as people would think, right? It's a bit messy. It's when our wet market here is really wet compared to other countries that is really more, you know, sanitized. But at the time, and I hope with the new carbon development, things will change. I was happy to see a very clean toilet in Carbon recently. So, but again, it's the early exposure to the dynamics of a public market. So soon I realized that after going through business school and taking up commerce and being a CPA by profession,
This was here in
I
Cebu,
never thought that I would get back to the food business.
but you were educated in Cebu.
Yes, yes,
Ah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah. So, I finished my schooling here in Cebu from grade school all the way to college. Then I moved to Manila and almost forgot the food business. Just really focus on my profession as a CPA, auditing, working with SGV for a couple of years, and then, but again, my childhood really came back to me. You know, the childhood memories, because when I was in grade school, my classmates would naturally buy my baon. Ang akong baon, ilang paliton ba? So, but of course, it's for me, no? So, what I do, I bring four or half a dozen the following day, whatever it is. It's hot dogs, cookies. They would just come to me. So, for some reason, I felt that I had that gift as a child where people would just come to me, just buy whatever I have. And I never
So
ran
that
out of coins in my pocket. And then whatever I sold, I always buy again. So my mom taught me how to buy ingredients. So after doing my homework, I make cookies, I make sandwiches, and bring it back to school the following day. So it was just, I never felt that it was a task. I was
so
just
it
excited.
came very natural and innate for
From
you.
that time until today, I still have the same excitement, and every time I wake up,
That
I don't count.
entrepreneurial
Yes,
spirit.
I don't count whether I'm gonna earn or lose. Of course, you know, as an accountant, you have to be sustainable financially, but it's secondary to me. You know, making money was
So
secondary.
the passion came first, right? That the natural tendencies you had of being entrepreneurial, selling,
Yes, it
and people
really
were just
it
drawn
really
to you, willing to pay. It was innate. Okay.
yeah. Even, you know, classes, you're not supposed to eat inside the class, right? You're supposed to eat only during break time. But my classmates would order some chocolates during class, so I was still peddling.
Okay.
So, you know, chocolates during class, you know, when things were still 5 centavos. So I'm revealing my age now. And but in 2014, I was approached by the developer of one of the biggest, the most modern public market. Oh, I call it not really public, but a private market in Abu Dhabi, where they were opening a huge state of the art, air conditioned meat market, fish market, and farm market in Mushrif Mall, and they call it D Market, and they invited me to sell Philippine meat products. But I said, we don't have export. We don't export meat. We import meat. Or whatever meat we have here is for domestic consumption, right? So, long story short, we ended up selling Australian beef, US beef, and and again, how would you compete? We were surrounded by 40 other butchers, meat shops, in the same market.
So how did you compete?
And then we were below on the upper level. There was a huge supermarket like their SM there called Lulu, and they were also selling meat. So the cheapest meat you will find in the market. So I realized that if I go for the cheap or the standard supermarket meat, I wouldn't survive. I wouldn't be able to compete. So my wife told me, Joey, why don't you sell Wagyu and Angus? So I told him, who will buy a very expensive meat in a marketplace? So well, anyway, she insisted, okay, why not? Why not try? So we started selling. And without any market research, we were able to, fill in a gap.
So it did
Because
well.
there was a gap. There were high income individuals who could only eat steaks or good meat in 5-star hotels. And the products that are supplied to 5-star hotels are directly doesn't go to the retail market. Same with Manila for quite some time. So, and nobody talks about brands like wine, right? Wine, you have different brands of wine. But meat was meat. Beef was beef and lamb was lamb, right? Even pork here is pork. There's no branding. There's no. It was not traceable. You wouldn't know who the producers were. You don't know the differentiation of what the different marbling grades. Uh, then we started getting customers. So one of the learnings there is, if getting into a market doesn't mean that you sell the cheapest product.
There's a demand for the
So
higher quality ones.
so if you have a good product. Oh, by the way, can I like flashback? Because I already went abroad, but before, sorry, it has something to do with the meat business, okay? When I moved to Manila from Cebu, because I work with SGV, right? I told you our family moved to Manila. We put up remember I mentioned about the bakery and catering business. My cousin from Iligan, Rene Stuart de Rosario, contacted me and wanted to do business in Manila. And because he saw that there was less opportunity in Mindanao at the time, so he went to Manila, and we spent some time together. And in fact, he was my mentor, because he was more experienced than me. He was older than me. He got into different kind of food business already. So he was my second inspiration after my mother, because Rene, my cousin, lived with us, with our family as well. So he was like a brother to me, my elder brother, and we're the only two guys who would understand about business, talk about business. And so in Manila, he thought like, why don't we sell wild boar? Like, what? Can you imagine? Have you tried wild boar?
No.
Nobody was talking. Organic was not talked about yet before. But he was talking, this guy was already so advanced, was already talking about wild boar, wild caught boar, wild pig. Baboy damo in Tagalog, or baboy sulup in Iligan. I go, what? Are you crazy? How can we do that? So, but I recall that in my mother's hometown in Iligan, it was a delicacy. It was something that, it was a something that they would eat every day. It was next to our ancestral home. The guy who was the butcher was just right next to, exactly next door. And when I was young, I used to see it. I mean, they just like even cook it raw with vinegar. Eat it raw. Sorry, they eat it raw with vinegar. Or sometimes they cook it, they blanch it, and they call it, when they blanch it. So my cousin cooked it well, like, just boil it with hot water, just to cook it quickly. And that was how pinakurat was born.
Hmm.
Have you heard? Do you like suka pinakurat?
Yes, I enjoy that sauce very
But you
much.
don't know where it's from,
No,
right? It's from Iligan. It's made by the same guy.
I learned something
Because
today.
pinakurat is a method of cooking of the wild boar.
Many things I can learn from from you.
That's why it's not a pinakurat. It's not a generic terminology for vinegar.
Okay.
That's why it's protected. It's trademark protected because it's a unique name, and by the family of the Del Rosario family. So that's why it's sustained. So that spirit of enterprise is what we shared together. And I brought that, and then we sold wild boar in before the suka pinakurat was born. We were selling wild boar in Metro Manila. Can you imagine me, a CPA, a professional, delivering 10, 20 kilos of wild boar to Hotel Intercon, to Shangri-La Makati, to the
Yeah,
five-star hotels in Makati, because I just love doing it. I mean, because it
passion.
was in my blood, something that comes from the market, something unique, and the chefs, the foreign chef, the Europeans would pay any price for it, cash basis, on the spot, and I was pricing it. Of course, it was a very rare product, so it was price. It was basically premium, the first premium product I've ever sold. It was organic because it's wild caught. It was just natural, and and it was highly in demand. And so it went on for a couple of years until the opportunity came for me, and me and my wife decided to go abroad. So I left it behind, the business with the family. So I just forgot all about it. Just focus on my new family, building a family. Of I have two kids. So, and then after 7 years in Abu Dhabi, I got into business, and in 2014, the opportunity came to me to run a meat shop.
Okay. Very interesting journey. So, thank you for sharing in detail all of that. But anyway, I have some questions. How would you compare Dubai and the Philippines in terms of doing business, since you're able to immerse with both cultures? What's the comparison?
Here you have it's in the Philippines is there's a lot of things which are still unregulated or uncontrolled, like food safety, for example. So I still look forward to visiting a slaughterhouse here. I haven't visited one, and I hope I don't get the shock. So, but in UAE, since it's a very young country, they were able to, although they also went through challenges, but since they knew from the beginning that they would have to depend on expatriates, until today, more than 80% are expatriates. So, meaning you have different people coming, working into the country. So,
Yeah.
health and food safety is very important. So, they put that as a number one priority. And, and that's what we were exposed to: daily compliance, daily inspections, until today. Not a drop of blood on the floor, and you cannot even use wooden chopping boards. You cannot put, you know, uh, porous materials. So everything, the pest control. So the standards of food safety and hygiene is very high. In fact, if you just follow the UAE standards, you're good as HACCP compliant.
So,
Because they themselves, the inspectors are very strict. They really monitor. They have a grading system, and so luckily now we have achieved an A grade. Yeah, but it's they that is one comparison. But I know many private companies, especially the hotels, are strictly implementing it here in Cebu, and many food chains are also implementing it. But again, you need the cooperation of the malls, for example. The malls have also the commercial establishments have to do their part as well. Yeah, because no matter how much you maintain, is the whole environment from the pest control to the waste disposal, waste management, the sewage system, and I would like to see that in carbon market. I would like to be invited by the project managers, and I would like to visit the project site and see what they're doing, because it's not about aesthetics. And one thing that I've observed also is they have given in UAE they have given priority to the people working in the market, because no matter how much you do, how much how clean the market is, if the people working there are not given the right space for changing, for even shower, taking a shower.
Yeah.
So they even have shower rooms there. And it's really very, very clean. It's really well maintained, as like you're going into the toilet of a hotel. Why? Because these are the same people who is going to cut your meat, clean your fish.
Yeah.
So I think in any LGU, the priority should be the public market. So this is my observation, because when you talk about food industry, it's about nutrition and health.
Ideally,
And
but
it's very, very basic. Very, very basic. Before you build attractive, modern commercial areas or parks, I mean, you definitely, that's very basic. It's just for survival, you know? And this is, I think, one area that really needs improvement. But the advantage is we have a lot of fresh produce. We have a lot of local products, very affordable. Oh my God. I mean, the mangoes in Carbon from different provinces. This is, I think, one of the best fruit, fruit markets I've seen. Yeah, you have mangoes from Cagayan de Oro, Dipolog, and I think it's very well handled. And even the flower market is very well handled, very well managed. And so there are also a lot of things that has been done well in Cebu, which you cannot find. This is what I'm saying, it's very hard to compare. There are things that are good here, and you cannot find good mangoes. Most of the mangoes that come into UAE, for example, are from India and Pakistan, which is a bit of different profile. It's sweeter and creamier. It doesn't have the tangy flavor of the Cebuano mangoes. Calamansi is very hard to find. Yeah, and then so the abundance of fresh produce is a big plus for Cebu.
okay. But regarding more on business side, what can you say about the industry? Is it going up? Like many restaurants opening now. The food industry scene here in Cebu.
Yeah,
The economy.
considering there's of course a population growth. I don't have the right statistics with me, but evidently there's a rising middle class. The young people are, as I said earlier, right?
Yeah.
You have the aspirational market as well, who aspires for a better life, better standard of living, and because of their travel experiences and education. So there is a growing demand. Demand is there for better quality products. And because the people are more educated now, so it's not enough anymore to just tell people that, oh, it comes from a supplier or commissary. To be able to compete in the market. So there's a demand, but the reason why some restaurants are closing, because they just do things traditionally. It's a cut and paste thing. So those who just in the business of copying or kanang musunod lang sa uso ba?
They
Diba?
don't sustain.
Dili gid mo sustain kay they just They just cut and paste. So there is no, there
Originality.
is no, they don't have a business culture. There is no passion, and all they have in mind is to make money,
Short-sighted.
and they want to
No.
scale. My God, there are some concepts. They just opened one branch and they want to franchise. What will happen if you have a just a new brand and you want to franchise? Because it's a very Western.
Yeah.
That's the thing, this is where the confusion is because our influence is very Western. Even our education system is very Western. It's a very capitalist, it's a expansionist mentality where to succeed you have to expand to grow because otherwise you'll be eaten by the market. So so what happened is many fall into the trap. They don't have the foundation. So and people think that growing is always about upward growth. But you see a lot of businesses who have thrived so many years, they did not expand, but they were gathering roots deeper downward. They perfected their products. They, right? Even the simple goyong or lumpia, di ba? Single product, but it's just really, they just really repeated the cycle and perfected it. So there's a lot of business that sustained, and but yet there's a lot of new businesses that closed, di ba? So kasi I mean, that's the biggest mistake of those new concepts who immediately franchise, and startups who depend so much on crowdfunding or investors, is that they soon realized that they thought they wanted to have their own business, to be self-employed, to be their own boss, only to find out that they're working for the investors because they have to justify the investment. And then the problem also, I believe in franchising. It's a very good concept only if you are already very strong. If you are very well rooted. There's a lot of successful franchise, yes. But the problem with if you are weak, your company-owned concepts, organization, and the processes are still very weak, the franchisees will start complaining,
Yeah.
and they will either eat you, gang up on you, or they put up their own.
Yeah. You need the strong foundation, no, intact.
Yes, yes. Because you need a commissary, you need a central kitchen, you need
But you,
the system has to be in place. Your delivery, your fulfillment, and the brand equity has to be there.
but it also requires a certain foresight and vision to. There are also the trying hard types. Like some, they're not here, but they try hard how they brand themselves, but quality-wise, it's not there.
Yeah, but it's okay. Actually,
That I sense,
actually,
with some
I'm not saying that
establishments
I
in
didn't
Cebu.
go through that. I think it's part of the process of business development, especially in the entrepreneurial journey. Because
Part of the
yes,
learning curve.
it's part of the learning curve. So my boss at SGB just told me, if you want to learn, masters, handle different small businesses and treat it as a case. So that's how I learned. That's how I mastered the art of business. But there are a lot of failures. There's a lot of problems. But if you don't go through that, you don't have there's no learning.
That's where the growth.
There's no reference.
That's
Yeah,
where the growth lies.
exactly.
Okay.
So overall, it looks very, very dynamic, and the quality of food in Cebu has really, I should say, has been upgraded, elevated, and there's already a lot of awareness on using local ingredients.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In terms of
and
ingredients.
a few of the young chefs now have developed Cebuano cuisine. So they have more or less elevated the balbacoa, right? Balbacoa, paklay, mga nilarang, and even Sheraton has already, like last year, they came up with a sutukil, a menu. Sa una, ang sutukil sa mga daplin-daplin lang, di ba? Oo.
Yeah.
So, karon ang mga hotels are already like Bay Hotel. I mean, they were serving bakasi last year. I don't know if they did it this year, but they had bakasi. And this is where I tried the bakasi actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
But these days, how often do you travel to Dubai, Manila, Cebu? Where do you spend most of
No, I
your
moved
time?
my base here already.
So you're back here in
Yes, I
Cebu
moved
full
back, but I
time.
still maintain my residency at my investor status in United Arab Emirates because my business is still running there.
You have establishments in Manila presently.
In Manila, we have a fulfillment center. We have a satellite office to serve our customers in Manila.
Okay.
And also my role as the CEO, I manage the value chain from source, yeah, from the source country to make sure that it arrives here in good order and condition within a 90 to 120-day cycle.
Considering there's still so much need for change, how would you address such problems with sanitation, all of this?
Ang number one good ang energy. Okay, you cannot maintain the right temperature and the right facility if you don't have the right. Kasi all of this need power. Eh.
But who can lead the way in transforming all of these lackluster problems?
I mean, look, you have the big guys here in Cebu, like the Aboitis Group, you have Vivant, you know, they are into energy, you know. So energy should be focused, it should be, you know, provide enough power and energy should be provided to, I'm talking about district cooling system, for example, you know, where cooling system is centralized rather than air conditioned. Yeah. So I think, of course, I'm not an expert in power generation, but it's in any facility because we're talking, our topic is mostly food. In any facility, temperature, especially food, the cold chain is very important.
Okay.
And especially we are in a tropical country, is you know very humid, and so that's why our coping mechanism as locals is to buy as fresh as possible, right? Sayog adtong carbon, di ba? Buntag sayo para sigurado ka fresh imong gipalit.
That's the mindset.
Yeah.
Sa'yo.
Or you go to the supermarket. Okay, bugnaw man ang supermarket. No?
Okay. Moving on to entrepreneurial advice, business advice. What would you impart to someone out there who want to excel in your respective fields? Sa food, sa meat.
In general, food in general.
In general, who want to make it. Because, of course, you had your journey, which you shared in detail. What can you impart to maybe someone out there who might be a younger version of yourself?
You just have to love food.
The passion has to
You've
come
got
first.
to love it. Yeah, when it comes to food, it's a very emotional product, you know. It's a very emotional product, and it's a food. Most of the food, remember, is like meat is it's just like our human body is 50 to 70% water. Fruits have water, vegetables have water. Water is energy. And if you don't love it, I mean, you know, energy, you know, has to be transmitted. So if you have food there and there is no positive energy, just because, and all you think is just money, just to make money, then your love is money, then the energy will go to the obsession of money. So if you're not making so much money, then you just close down tomorrow. So the thing is either you love it or you don't. Simple as that. If you don't get into it.
What about passionate people pero wala sila business acumen? Like na ay mga areas
Ah,
like
yeah, puro
l-
passion.
yeah,
Yes. Maybe
because like
it's
you,
it.
you're a
Yeah,
CPA,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you have that financial literacy. Plus, you have the meat background, the market background. So it turned out well for you. What about for some with disadvantages?
Yeah, it's true. It's not easy because honestly, I have to admit, I'm an accountant. My wife is an accountant. We still have
Yeah,
accounting problems.
yeah. You have to face
Espe-
the reality,
Especially
ba?
when you have to do BIR compliance and all this,
Yeah,
all these you know financials
yeah.
and
The reality still
yes,
kick in.
that is true. It's really it's really a nightmare. And most I spoke to a lot of business people, entrepreneurs. There are two things that they don't like about business: the accounting part and the HR.
People. Oh,
Sales, marketing, well, enjoy it, di ba?
yeah.
You're selling, there's money coming in. Even me, I got into business because honestly, I find accounting boring. Because of course, now accounting has evolved, okay? Financial, you do projections, it's more exciting now. You have tools, you have financial analysis, when you get into budgeting, forecasting, financial planning, it's more interesting. But of course, I was more on the conventional accounting before where it's already post-mortem, no? The action is done. Tsaka ka na mag-audit kasi I was into audit. So I really like auditing something which already happened, like the transaction is already, I mean, patay
Mana?
na ang
Yeah.
kabayo and then you're, parang walang excitement. That's why I left SGV because I feel like there's more action in the field. I want to see when I talk about manufacturing, when I talk about manufacturing costs, I want to see the raw material coming into the factory. Yeah, I want to
Mm.
see, I want to touch it, I want to see it, I want to measure it and see how it's processed.
Mm.
So, mga ganyan ba na, in other words, you have to walk through and the very basic, I think, is math. You cannot escape math. Or the best answer to your question is you look at every business not only as a school of thought, but also like a university, a school of learning by itself. So meaning, it's like a university. Like food, for example. Uh, you have to admit, you really have to go back to school if you don't learn, if you don't know.
Mm.
If you don't know, you don't have an accounting background, you have to learn accounting. Why? Because you have to calculate everything. And math, even all the people who work for me, my first interview already has math. Mental math. I asked them, pila ka centavos sa usa ka piso? Ikaw dong, pare. Alam mo kung ilang sentimo sa isang piso? Apat ang sagot niya. Kita mo? See? This is the usual answer I get. It's always 4 centavos daw sa isang piso. Okay? So, it's then, like since we're in the food business, even the dishwasher or your delivery boy has to understand how many grams is 1 kilo because people will order in grams or kilos, or they have to know weights and measurements. They have to know the distance. Like for example, if they're driving a motorcycle and now they're using an app and it tells you in 100 meters turn right, but it doesn't have a mental map of what is 100 meters. When are you gonna turn right?
Yeah.
In 10 meters turn, doon na day kaayo ang 10 meters, so dili siya maka-turn right. So meaning, it doesn't belong to the realm of managers, but it's every person now. So meaning in any business, there's mathematics, there's accounting, even engineering or architecture, because when you put up a shop, even if it's just a small kiosk of 9 square meters, you need to design it, right? You have to maximize the space.
Yeah.
So you need to have interior. Even now, even smallest outlets need permits, and this engineering, you have to comply with this, with the city hall requirement of you have to submit drawings. Yeah, so you have to talk to engineers. So if you just rely on engineers without any knowledge of engineering, then sometimes either you get overpriced or they give you the wrong.
Mailad ka.
Mailad ka, or
Kaya
so you as an
kaya
owner, you have to
perhanaw.
know what is the area. At least you should be able to measure the area.
Yeah, you have to be in the know or else you can be fooled.
Exactly. So the space, the measurement of space, what the structure, if you're putting up a bakery, where are you going to put your equipments? So all this is engineering.
Acumen, basically. Well-rounded dapat sa
Yes, and
acumen.
you have also history, because you have to know the history of your product, the source, the brands, and you have to make a story as history of your own brand, right? Yeah. So even the products need history. Asa na siya gikan, unsa na iyang traceability is history.
What,
So
yeah, what about in terms of profit, in terms of the ginansya for your industry,
yeah.
for the meats? How do you make good
Well, it's
good
very
money?
in general, if you're just buying and selling products, okay, and especially meat is like a basic commodity, the margin is very very small, so you work on volume, and the thing is when you're talking about perishable products, you have also very high waste. The wastage is also high. Like vegetable, for example, we
Yeah.
easily supermarkets throw away 30% as waste. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in our
So the
meat business, usually it may go up to 10%, but we manage to control it down to 3%. Yeah. So there are many factors that affect your profitability. But in general, you know that most of the F&B, especially restaurants, they work on a 30% food cost. So that gives them a 70% gross profit and then less operating expenses. They would be lucky if they get 20% net.
what about the pricing of your meats? Who decides the pricing? Ikaw?
Yeah, we work as a team. Of course, I make final decisions on pricing, but of course, and with my operations manager. And you have to input. It's very challenging because it's not a cheap product, but simply because uh, aside from it being imported, the feeding program, the grains that are being fed, and the pasturing, the time, that's why you have 100, cattle which is 150 days grain fed, 300 days grain fed. So the longer it's being fed, the higher the cost,
Mm.
and then plus the shipping cost, you factor it in, and then the storage cost before it arrives at your butchery or kitchen. Yeah, it's always uh, branching out is always an option, but we are not in a hurry. I don't rush. As I said, it's important for us to be deep rooted.
Who are your main competitors? Like versus La Carne? Because karon, gamay raman premium meat na establishments.
Yeah, for an outsider like you looking at us, you always look at it as a competitor. Of course, when you do uh, market studies, you look at the competitor, but from my own point of view, I don't look at them as competitors because I always believe in the blue ocean strategy, where you work you work around in a space where there is a gap. So while some are catering uh, to a different market segment, I cater to a specific market segment.
So you source these meats from various suppliers or different
Now we work
countries,
directly with producers in
producers.
Australia, in the U.S. Okay, and we partner with. There are also people who are. That's why I also travel overseas to, because most of these suppliers are already. We already have built our relationship for the past 10 years. Although we are still 3 years on our fourth year in Cebu, we just celebrated our 10th year anniversary, as you know, as La Carne brand. Since we have already established a relationship with the producers since when we operated in the Middle East. So when we moved here, they supported us with their products.
When did you decide to offer the dine-in setup? Because I
Well, it was
remember
not planned. It was not planned
that
because we
was
were,
recent lang.
yeah, because we, 2 years ago, because we didn't have, because we are just a butchery. We were not planning to have, kitchen was not part of the plan. But a friend of mine one day walked in, pwede magpaluto? Ha? Sabi ko, well, it started with some people wanted to taste. So, just for tasting, it's just like a tasting table. And then, ayan, it just evolved. But we still encourage, it's not our focus. Dining in is not our focus. We still want to share, and whatever we learn, not only from our brand partners, but also we also learn from customers that we have. We have been working. Part of my team here originally were coming from the main our Abu Dhabi branch, so they have been exposed to dealing with customers from different countries. So they have different preferences, different types of, not one person likes. So there's no like best meat for everyone. It really depends. So we have mastered that and brought it here. So that's why we're able to attract. I mean, 30% of our customer base are foreigners, and mostly are, of course, the local Cebuanos.
Do you still perceive some of the Cebuano customers to be kuripot, on the kuripot side?
I think the word kuripot, I think it's about value. I think Cebuanos, if they see good value,
Willing to spend, right?
yeah, I mean, in the same way, look, before Starbucks came, before iPhone came, I mean, people were so used to you can buy a 3-in-1 or get a coffee in 7-Eleven, right? Yeah. And then, but Starbucks came, you can get a coffee for 50 pesos or 60 pesos. But how come a lot of Cebuanos, they go to Starbucks, they pay 150 pesos? Even the same Coca-Cola, right? You can buy barato na kaya sa tindahan, sa tapad sa 7-Eleven, but on the next door, it's 3 times more. But they are willing to pay because of the value and the experience. So I think Cebuanos now are very
More willing.
educated, as I said, well-traveled,
Mas
and
magasto
they're
na.
willing to pay for value. So that's why when you were asking about pricing, cost, and all, I think it's really more of value because it's very, it's relative. It's about the value that you deliver to customers because we just don't sell products.
Okay. What about management advice? Are you the micromanaging type, very meticulous, and regarding leading people also, because that can be quite cumbersome sometimes, setting the culture of your company. What can you impart to, based on your experience?
It's really you cannot just tell and tell us, give instructions. You have to show them, show and tell. It's the usual principles of a leader. You have to show a good example. I mean, if you want your staff to be frugal, you have to show them that you're frugal.
Walk
I mean,
the
like
talk.
if they see that you're so extravagant, daghang kay kag mga mga jewelry and all, and this is how they will think. So building the culture takes time. It takes time, and it's about aligning the individual value of the person. So if you have a team of 10 people, they come from different backgrounds. So you have to connect the individual person, their own personality. It has to be aligned to the brand culture. If not, day one, they don't work for us. We don't take them in. So because it's about alignment. because there's no perfect employee, right?
Yeah.
There's no, there's no, there's no perfect. You cannot just say, "Oh, itong requirement. These are your standards. This is you have to fit in." No, it's just about aligning. That's why when we celebrated our 10th year anniversary, I have to involve the family. I invited the whole family because they have to understand what we're doing, where their father is working, what they do. So even the children, the family has to be aligned, and what are their plans? They do they want just to stay with their family and see their family grow, or they want to leave their family behind, go work abroad, and possibly come back and children not knowing them anymore.
Okay, recently you had an event, right? The Cebu Food and Wine. Uh, how's that going? The whole that community, Cebu Food and Wine Festival, right?
Yeah, it was part of.
I know you're quite
They put it in the
proactive there.
calendar. They put
Yeah.
it in the calendar, but it was a first time we're doing it because it was our 10th year anniversary. It's our way. We were thinking of. Uh, we thought that it's the best way to engage our regular customers, to invite them, our trade partners, but by doing a steak cook off, a showdown, and encouraging also uh, people and young the amateurs or cooks to cook at home. So that was the whole objective, and uh, and to our surprise, I mean, we expected only 300 people. We were overwhelmed actually, and I had to apologize that we were not able to, serve as fast as we can because there was a long queue and because almost 500 people showed up. Yes, and they had the experience of witnessing the launching of our Steak Simplified book, the soft launching, which will be released by the end of this year, and we have 6 contestants to competed. So it was it's a very good turnout, and of course we got mostly good feedback, but we also got some feedback where we could improve for future event. And everybody was asking when is the next one, but of course we don't plan it that way. It's really uh, about community engagement.
Uh, Anything you would like to impart to whoever may be watching this? Any advice or any insights? Well, given that, of
Yeah,
course, Cebu is booming,
yeah,
good economy, pandemic over, and a lot of establishments opening left and right, food industry thriving. What can you impart to maybe other businessmen or entrepreneurs?
yeah. What I can impart is just really be original and be as authentic. The key word is authenticity and consistency. So if you are true to yourself, true to your passion, you don't really have to copy others, and you don't really have to, you just, of course, you can probably benchmark, learn from the experience of others, but you have to be as authentic because people now look for authenticity, right? Even in social media, right? They want authenticity. They want something more raw, natural. Some want it random, right?
Mm-mm.
They don't want things to be too manicured, too orchestrated, too curated, too gourmetish, like too pretentious. So they just wanted a simple, especially the Cebuano culture is a very, very, I should say, this is why I like Cebu, and I'm happy and proud to be a Cebuano because it's just everybody's just very dressed down, very straightforward, no pretensions. I think
Yeah.
it's just that we just have to live the culture. In other words, you also have to align not only your own passion, then you create it into a brand culture. You have to align it also on the culture of the market, right? You may have the best. There's a lot of brand that are successful in other places, but they don't have. They may not succeed here. Yeah. So that's why it's very important to be just very simple and straightforward, authentic, and true. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we covered on a lot of ground today. Thank you so much for the many insights. I also learned a lot given the journey that you
Thank
shared.
you for your leading question, Mike.
Thank you again
Okay.
for your insights, and looking forward to buying more of your meat.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
And maybe future collaboration, maybe someday.
Yeah, yeah.
Who
We're
knows?
very
Who
we're very
knows?
open. Okay.
I'm quite open also to exploring new things, given we have different industries, but of course the core principles still apply.
But what we have in common, again, it's a lifestyle.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.